What if the biggest misunderstanding in Star Wars isn't about the Jedi or the Sith, but the Force itself? The Force was never meant to belong to the Skywalkers or be inherited like a family name. The Skywalker Saga made it feel that way, but step back, and the truth is simpler. The Force is older, wider, and far less interested in family drama. The Skywalkers were never its center, only its loudest echo. The Skywalker Saga was a lens, not the whole picture. The 9 Skywalker films tell an emotionally powerful story, but they do something subtle along the way. By focusing so intensely on one family, they make the Force feel personal, hereditary, and almost exclusive. The Force looks like something you're born with, something fate assigns you, something that chooses you whether you want it or not. Anakin is chosen. Luke inherits. Leia carries it unknowingly. Ben Solo collapses under it. Rey inherits the legacy emotionally, even without the blood. But canon has always been clear on one point. The Force does not belong to a family. It flows through all living things. The Skywalkers are not proof of ownership. They are proof of what happens when immense power collides with fear, attachment, love, and loss. In that sense, the Skywalker Saga isn't a rulebook. It's a cautionary tale. The High Republic and a brighter Force. When Star Wars stepped into the High Republic era, it quietly changed how the Force felt. This period, set centuries before the films, shows a galaxy at its peak. Confident, expanding, and optimistic. The Jedi are not hiding, extinct, or morally broken. They are explorers, diplomats, peacekeepers, and first responders. The Force during this era feels open and luminous rather than haunted. What's important here is not just the era, but the philosophy. High Republic Jedi do not all experience the Force the same way. Some feel it as music, others see it as light, others feel it as instinct or emotion. This diversity of perception reinforces a crucial truth. The Force is constant, but interpretation is human. The Force does not dictate one path. People do. This is a massive departure from the Skywalker narrative, where the Force often arrives as destiny with a capital D. In the High Republic, the Force is responsibility. And responsibility, as Star Wars repeatedly shows us, is heavier than prophecy. When the dark side isn't about one chosen one. One of the most revealing shifts in modern Star Wars canon is the decision to explore the dark side without anchoring it to the Skywalker bloodline. For decades, darkness in Star Wars felt intensely personal. A gifted child falls, a heroic father fails, a conflicted son breaks under inherited expectations. But stories set before the Phantom Menace and outside the main saga quietly dismantle that assumption. They show that the dark side does not require a chosen child, a dramatic betrayal, or a towering Sith Lord breathing through a mechanical mask. Darkness can emerge slowly, almost politely, inside systems that believe they are stable, moral, and enlightened. This reframing matters because it shifts the threat from individuals to institutions. The Sith were never dangerous solely because they were powerful. They were dangerous because they exploited blind spots, pride, certainty, and the belief that balance, once achieved, could not be lost. When a society begins to believe it has solved morality, mastered the Force, or outgrown its own failures, that confidence becomes an invitation. The dark side thrives not in chaos but in comfort. It grows best where vigilance fades and questions stop being asked. The Skywalker Saga framed the dark side primarily as a personal tragedy, a story of fear, attachment, and emotional collapse. Expanded canon reframes it as a systemic risk, one that can exist even when no one believes they are doing anything wrong. The danger is not always corruption. Sometimes it is complacency wearing the mask of wisdom. The Force is a place, not just power. One of the boldest and most unsettling expansions of Force lore comes with the introduction of the world between worlds. This concept fundamentally alters what the Force is allowed to be. It is not a metaphor, a dream, or a symbolic vision. It is a literal realm within the Force itself, a vast network of pathways and doors that connect moments across time and space. The implication is staggering. The Force does not merely bind the present. It touches the past, brushes against the future, and remembers everything. This transforms temptation at its core. Power is no longer defined by dominance, strength, or destruction. It becomes something quieter and far more dangerous. The desire to undo loss. The urge to fix what was broken. The hope that suffering might be erased rather than endured. In this framework, the dark side stops looking like rage alone and starts resembling compassion without restraint. Mercy that refuses to accept reality. The Skywalker Saga already hinted at this danger through Anakin's fear of loss and his refusal to accept death as natural. The World Between Worlds takes that fear and elevates it into an existential threat. It asks a terrifying question. If the Force allows revision, not just destruction, then where does responsibility end? At what point does saving someone become rewriting the universe for personal comfort? The greatest misuse of the Force may not be annihilation, but denial. Myth, Mortis, and the Force as cosmic balance. Beyond timelines, governments, and orders lies the mythic layer of the Force, a realm where symbolism carries as much weight as action. Concepts like Mortis suggest that the Force operates simultaneously on physical, philosophical, and archetypal levels. Light, dark, and balance are not merely ideas debated by Jedi councils. They are recurring forces embodied across history, reappearing in different forms whenever civilizations attempt to define them too narrowly. This mythic framing pushes Star Wars closer to ancient storytelling traditions, where gods represent principles rather than personalities, and balance is not a permanent state but a fragile condition that must be constantly defended. In this view, the Jedi and the Sith are not ultimate answers. They are interpretations, temporary solutions shaped by the fears and assumptions of their time. Each believes it understands balance, and each eventually proves that belief incomplete. The Skywalker Saga presents balance as something achieved through a singular climactic act, a final choice, a final sacrifice, a final victory. Expanded canon complicates that idea. It suggests balance is temporary by nature. It must be maintained, questioned, challenged, and rebuilt across generations. There is no final equilibrium, only stewardship. And stewardship, unlike prophecy, never ends. A galaxy without a center. With the Skywalker Saga complete, Star Wars has shifted its focus forward. Post-Episode 9 storytelling is no longer about resolving a family's fate. It's about rebuilding meaning. The Force remains, but the old symbols no longer carry the same authority. Rey's future story as someone attempting to rebuild the Jedi Order is especially telling. Her challenge is not to defeat a Sith empire. It is to decide what the Jedi should be in a galaxy that has already survived their failure once. This moves the Force conversation from destiny to design. The question becomes institutional, not personal. What structures encourage balance? What beliefs invite corruption? And can an order built with humility survive longer than one built on certainty? The Mandalorian era and the return of mystery. One of the most refreshing aspects of recent Star Wars storytelling is how it restores mystery to the Force. In the Mandalorian era stories, the Force is not universally understood. It inspires awe, fear, curiosity, and skepticism. Characters react to it the way people react to something sacred and unknown, not like something standardized and explained. Grogu's presence reinforces this shift. He is powerful, ancient, vulnerable, and uninterested in ideology. He does not represent a prophecy, he represents possibility. And possibility is far more dangerous and hopeful than destiny. This era reminds us that the Force works best in stories when it is not fully explained, when it invites questions instead of closing them. What the Force really is beyond Skywalker. When you remove the Skywalkers from the center of the narrative, a clearer picture of the Force emerges. It is not a superpower lottery. It is not a family curse. It is not even a moral scoreboard. It is a living, responsive field shaped as much by belief as by biology. The Force magnifies what already exists inside individuals and societies. Fear becomes tyranny. Hope becomes resistance. Attachment becomes obsession. Compassion becomes strength or sacrifice. The Skywalkers showed us the extremes. The wider galaxy shows us the pattern. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the Force beyond the Skywalker Saga, like and subscribe for more thoughtful Star Wars analysis that goes deeper than lightsabers and surface-level lore.